important reminder. All information and ideas are for informational purposes only and are in no way intended as medical advice or as a substitute for medical counseling. Earthshift Products, Dr. Robert Cassar, all of their partners, affiliates, and subsidiaries will not be held accountable for the use or misuse of the information presented therein. This information is not intended as medical advice. The authors, publishers, and speakers of this work are not medical doctors and do not recommend the use of mineral-deficient foods, drugs, or medicines to achieve beauty and to alleviate health challenges. Because there is always some risk involved, all persons involved with the development and distribution of this information are not responsible for any adverse effects or consequences of any kind resulting from the use or misuse of any suggestions or procedures described on our website or Earthshift Live radio talk show or therein.
Unless a man first finds his own essential nature and destiny and begins from there, all his efforts and achievements will be built only on the sand of personality. And at the first serious shock, the whole structure will crumble, perhaps destroying him in its fall. Anyone that's studied alternative history knows, even conventional history, so many civilizations with all their might, with all their power, with all their control, have risen and fallen. And this is another one. So, what are you built on? The sand of personality or that essential nature and destiny? You know, with supreme grace, riding on the waves of destiny. We're not the prisoners of anything. Next one, mate. How shocked did that guy look? His eyes, that one was cool. How shocking is it? How shocking is it? I live in Kauai. They've got the Barking Sands Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Base over there on the west coast, next to Monsanto testing place. And just in front, just behind there is. In the mountains is their underground base. Full on Hawaiian Islands, full on. Extreme. You're in the power center. You know? It's click it up a notch. Turn up the heat, your spiritual practice, your self-purification, whatever it is that calls you, whatever it is, turn it up. Get on it. Because the power's coming and the juice is coming in. And this is very serious. Very serious. It's so serious that the directive that prevents galactic civilizations interfering with an evolving species, that free will law, has been overridden because of this. And that's why they come and shut them down. Anybody who's studied the ufology and conspiracy theories and ET stuff will know that there's lots and lots of documentation. And not just like somebody saw this or that, the other. Official documentation, because the English government, the Mexican government, and the French government have all released their UFO files. It's all on the internet. It's all in the public domain. America's one of the very few countries that hasn't released their information on this ET stuff. But there's enough whistleblowers coming out, Disclosure Project and Fast Walkers, all that crew. They're like, there's just tons and tons and tons of super high level individuals just blowing the lid on this stuff. And the ETs come and shut them down. As soon as those silos open, those things start to come out. Craft or in, electromagnetic, whatever, shut it all down. Nothing works. Nothing. So, because when these things go off, it shatters your soul. This is atomic energy. This is very interesting, this stuff. I did a lot of study and tried to figure out what it was, how it worked. Studied a lot of Einstein stuff. What he did, he helped design this stuff, even though he wasn't like in the finishing team. But Did you know that when they split the atom, they split the atom, they bombard the atom with electrons, and they split the atom, which basically means that they disturb its orbit. I haven't got like orbiting electrons, but they just disturb its orbit. So they split it. And so now these things are just dancing around, flying around, just in such a lovely orbit and perfect harmony. They've been split, they've been disrupted. And what they do with atomic bombs is they keep them apart. And then when they drop them, just before, wherever they decide, if it's, just above the ground that they want it to explode, what do? They let them come back together. That's what they do. And that is what causes this, the return. So when you see everything's a hologram, so we've been bombarded with electrons through the TV, through the media, with all the radiation, with all the electromagnetic vibrational frequencies, with everything that we know about, and our minds are shattered, subconsciously and unconsciously. We can still function. The guys that have been in extreme military conditioning can still function. They can go driving to work. They can be married, have families, have children. They can go to McDonald's, have the best day ever. They can do all that. But when their compartment, the other thing that's been programmed is triggered, and that thing starts to come out and dominate, they're a completely different person. And that's when you get these guys going into schools or going into McDonald's and killing, 30, 40, 50 people and killing themselves. Whatever, or blowing shit up, Positioned all over America, all over the world to create more chaos, create more fear. Heavy duty shit, mind control. I'm specialised in the study of that. My mind was shattered when I was a kid. I grew up in a haunted house. I used to have the most horrific demonic entities sitting on my chest when I was a little boy, in the middle of the night, waking up like this, so terrified of them. When I was 22 years old, playing first class rugby in New Zealand, what I found was that I could kick them off and jump into their dimension. And then I could fist fight with them. And I used to kick them out of these things. I used to chase them all over the place. Real tear-ups with these things. And my body would be in the bedroom still, running around on its own, doing whatever I was doing, wherever I was with these things. And I only jolt myself back into the body when I'd hurt myself enough in the bedroom. I remember one time I caught one I was running down this tunnel. One time I was running down a tunnel after one, and my body was going full sprint in the bedroom, and I just ran slap straight into the wall. And like jolting myself back in the body, and I've got a wardrobe on top of me as well, and the place is just evaporated, the whole bedroom, just complete chaos. And I'm staying at my new girlfriend's house, and her mum and dad, and there's these three heads looking around the door with eyes like this and their hair all over the place. Sorry. I'm just having a dream. One time I had one in that place, and I was kneeing it as hard as I could in its face. And in the bedroom, I was kneeing the side of this chest of drawers, really sharp thing. Kneeing right in there with a knee, jolting myself back in. I used to be terrified of these things. It was a good initiation. I understood it now. I'll tell you more about that story later, how it dissolved all that. But the point is, we're fragmented, we're fractured, we've been bombarded with so much violence, so much fear. Anyone that's grown up normally, watching television, the job is done. In your psyche, in your conscious, in your subconscious. Mostly where who you are lives. It's been done because it's been planned to be done. That's what that industrial machine is. That's what that thing is we saw before. It's just a factory production line that produces inhuman versions, make-believe human beings, the living dead, monsters. And what we're going to see as this thing collapses, this economic collapse and all the rest of it, is those monsters coming out. So the same power is in the mix. The reason why the ETs are in there is because this thing fragments souls. It's atomic energy. It fragments the soul. And so they have to go and find all these little bits of the soul that's scattered all over the place. Heard about this, the healing the fragmented soul or soul retrieval? That's what it means. But there's beings that do that on other dimensions. This is very serious shit. horrible. But the power of the atom is nothing compared to the power of the Atman and the Atman. The soul and the power in that soul. So when we retrieve our souls just by dropping in surrender, sweet surrender, and really offering ourselves in purity by activating David fully within us, our soul is automatically, instantaneously retrieved. All the fragments, everything that could not be, wherever it is, a little bit of light shining in that shut box and that compartmentalized room. And what happens when we do that? If this happens when those electrons return to their natural state, what happens when our soul returns to its natural state? What do we blow up? We implode, we incend. It's implosion. Aloha, brother. We go in, and then outside changes beautifully, and we get the heaven on earth that we all want, that we all are. Next slide, please.